In and out clouds through the nighttime hours, 21 by 10, overnight 14 degrees. Tomorrow, pretty much like today, temperatures in the 20s with a little bit of sunshine, a lot of clouds around.
Back to normal.
Yep.
Okay, Don. Thank you. And thank you for joining us.
We'll be back tonight at 10. Have a good evening.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We're going to begin this evening with what appears to be more division, and is certainly more confusion, in the leadership of the Contras, who with American help are trying to overthrow the government of Nicaragua. For the second time in a week, one of the three major Contra leaders has said that he is resigning from the umbrella group which the three men have run. The catch is that Adolfo Calero says he's still going to be in charge of the largest number of actual fighters. Our first report is from John Quinones, who's in Miami.
Adolfo Calero, the most powerful of Contra leaders, announced he's resigning today to mend political differences within the rebel organization.
I have said very clearly that I am leaving for the sake of unity and nationalist spirit.
Calero is one of three directors of UNO, the United Nicaraguan Opposition, the political arm of the Contras. He's in command of more than 10,000 Contra fighters, a hardliner who says he will accept only a military victory and not a negotiated settlement with the Sandinista government of Nicaragua. That has angered the other two directors of UNO, Arturo Cruz and Alfonso Robelo, who are just as interested in a political settlement to the Contra war. The two have accused Calero of trying to run a one-man operation. In fact, last week, Cruz threatened to quit the organization unless Calero resigned. Cruz now says he'll reconsider. In today's resignation, however, Calero made it clear he will give up only his political post and not his command of the fighting forces.
I will have the largest Contra organization, not necessarily the largest Contra force. The fact that we have the largest Contra force is just an accident.
So in effect, Calero remains as powerful a comandante as ever. Still, in Costa Rica today, his political foes applauded Calero's resignation.
This is very positive to everyone. They should see this as the best alternative to keep on receiving the aid needed for the military struggle.
Still, the unanswered question remains. Will today's resignation promote unity as intended? Or is it simply the latest chapter of infighting and division within the Contra ranks? John Quinones, ABC News, Miami.
Well, the resignation of Mr. Calero certainly accomplishes one thing. It focuses attention on the basic question. Do the Contras, even with more American aid, stand a realistic chance of attaining their goal? ABC's Peter Collins has an assessment.
These are Soviet-made helicopter gunships in Nicaragua. In this recent action, they killed more than 24 Contras, while only 7 Sandinistas were wounded. The Sandinistas have nearly 40 helicopters, more than 100 tanks, and a well-motivated force of 65,000 men. The Contras, by contrast, have perhaps 12,000 lightly armed men, just now getting back into full-scale combat after winning renewed U.S. aid. Those odds are one of several reasons why even some of their friends think the Contras' chances of winning are slim. David Phillips is the former director of CIA operations in Latin America.
I think that the chances that the Contras can win are only, perhaps 2 or 3 out of 10. But those aren't bad odds when you're trying to change a government.
At the very top of the list of problems the Contras face in trying to overthrow the Sandinistas is whether Congress will vote them any more funds.
Contragate, call it what you will, scandal has not helped. And I believe that we may just have the votes that will bring an end to this program and give a real chance and a start to a diplomatic approach to the problem.
The chief architect of the administration's policy says the scandal has not hurt.
There is a remarkable ability to separate the scandal from the question of U.S. interests in Central America. And I find Congress, if anything, more concerned about protecting our interests and about the threat to those interests than they were last year.
Contra strategy will be to launch guerrilla-style attacks all over the country and try to provoke Sandinista repression. David Phillips believes more than that is needed.
At this stage, the Contras have really only one course left open to them if they want to succeed. They've got to do something dramatic. They've got to take a city and hold it.
But the Contras aren't ready to do that yet. And Senator Dodd, just back from Central America, says military men there think they may never be.
Without exception, all have reached the conclusion, believe, that the Contras cannot win militarily in Nicaragua.
Even with the additional funds that they are getting?
Even with the additional funds.
For its part, the administration is pleading for patience.
I don't think that they need to take cities all over the country in their first 6 months. This program just began.
So are the Contras doomed? The answer lies both in Washington and with the Contras, and how they react to each other over the next 6 months. Peter Collins, ABC News, Tegucigalpa, Honduras.
One other note about the region, a senior State Department official with considerable experience in Latin America has now made public why he resigned last November. Francis McNeil, a former ambassador to Costa Rica and a Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Intelligence, accused one of his superiors, Assistant Secretary Elliott Abrams, of an exercise in McCarthyism. McNeil says that Abrams, who you saw in the Collins report, questioned his loyalty because he was critical of the Contras. Abrams calls the charge nonsense. Later in this broadcast, Mr. Gorbachev on human rights and arms control. Electro-shock therapy, new attention to an old treatment. And the Soviet Union versus America, who really invaded whom?
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by AT&T.
At AT&T, not only do we use the latest technology, we invented.
Scientists at AT&T Bell Laboratories invented the transistor and built the first electrical digital computer, which helped to make AT&T the most advanced and reliable long-distance network in the world.
Today, they're opening new frontiers with the use of lasers and photonics.
But we know that all this means very little without this.
David, you sound wonderful.
AT&T, the right choice.
Get that toaster fixed yet, dear?
Time out for Tetley?
When you're all charged up, there's nothing like a relaxing cup of Tetley tea.
Time out for tiny little tea leaves in Tetley tea.
Tums doesn't have it. Rolaids doesn't have it. Maalox-Plus does. We have what you need for complete relief of excess acid, heartburn, and gas. Maalox for acid and heartburn, plus simethicone for gas. Get complete relief. Try Maalox-Plus.
In the Soviet Union today, an international conference on peace heard encouraging words about human rights from the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, who coupled them with a renewed plea for an end to the arms race. ABC's Walter Rogers is in Moscow.
Mr. Gorbachev said there are revolutionary changes underway in Soviet society. New thinking, he called it, and a new approach to human rights here.
And I must disappoint those who think that this has been the result of pressure on us from the West, that we wish to gain somebody's fancy in pursuit of some ulterior motives. No, we do not.
In the audience was Andrei Sakharov, this country's most famous dissident, who was besieged by autograph seekers at today's Peace Forum. Mr. Gorbachev's human rights remarks followed 5 days of embarrassing demonstrations in Moscow last week by Soviet Jews seeking the release of jailed activist Yusuf Begun. Georgy Arbatov, a key Gorbachev aide, yesterday announced Begun had been freed. But today, Begun's wife disputed Arbatov, saying, as far as she knows, her husband is still in prison. Mr. Gorbachev also renewed his attack on the American Star Wars missile defense program, and he warned President Reagan against scrapping the ABM treaty.
With the destruction of the treaty, the nuclear arms race will be added by the race in space.
From Mrs. Gorbachev to Yoko Ono, almost all the public figures attending this Soviet-sponsored peace forum were impressed with the new Soviet thinking, but there were skeptics. Clearly, there is a striking improvement in the human rights situation here, and last week's demonstrations reflect the bureaucratic resistance of those who feel threatened by Mr. Gorbachev's new thinking. Walter Rogers, ABC News, Moscow.
Elsewhere overseas today, the beginning of a long-awaited trial in an Israeli courtroom. A word of background, it's more than 26 years since the Israelis kidnapped and put Adolf Eichmann on trial for crimes against the Jewish people during World War II. The man who went on trial today turned up in Israel when he was deported from the United States. He is also accused of killing Jews during World War II. His name is John Demjanjuk. His defense is a simple one. He says the Israelis have the wrong man. ABC's Dean Reynolds is covering the trial.
The former Cleveland auto worker was outwardly spirited as he arrived at court, shouting good morning in Hebrew to the packed galleries on hand for the first Nazi war crimes trial here in a quarter century. The 66-year-old Demjanjuk, a former Soviet soldier from the Ukraine, is accused of killing some 850,000 Jews at the Treblinka concentration camp in Poland, accused of enthusiastic collaboration with the Nazis.
He stands before you because he stands accused of the most terrible crimes ever committed in the course of history.
The prosecution says Demjanjuk was known as Ivan the Terrible.
He actually had a hand in pushing and shoving hundreds of thousands of victims before they went into the gas station.
For some in attendance, the trial reawakened the agony of the past. I was there, shouted this man, as he accused Demjanjuk of killing his entire family. Central to this case is this photo on a 1951 immigration form and this ID card supplied by the Soviets from the Treblinka camp files. The prosecution says both pictures showed John Demjanjuk, Nazi collaborator.
I think the so-called ID card is inauthentic. I think it's a forgery.
White House Communications Director Patrick Buchanan has studied the case and believes the Soviets are trying to frame the Ukrainian expatriate.
I think this is a clear case of mistaken identity.
Today, the defense made the same argument.
This man, John Demjanjuk, has never been in any death camp, in any capacity.
Demjanjuk faces a trial that will last for weeks. His life is on the line. If convicted, he could get the death penalty. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Jerusalem.
When we come back, shock therapy, a new look at an old treatment.
We owe it to you. So we invite GM and Ford to follow Chrysler. You know, for 5 years, I've been feeling like the guy who sent invitations to a party and nobody came. Well, somebody finally showed up. GM and Ford decided the time has come to improve their warranties. Chrysler says, welcome to the party. It's good for America. Maybe that's why we haven't heard from the Japanese. Millions of Americans are only getting 2 or 3 year protection. What are they, second-class citizens? We've backed 5 million Chrysler owners with 550 protection. Our quality had to improve, and dramatically. So, the party's over. Chrysler announces the end of 550 and the beginning of 770, the best powertrain protection in the business. 7 years or 70,000 miles on the powertrain, 100,000 miles against outer body rust-through on every Chrysler, Dodge, and Plymouth we build, car, truck, and minivan. Like I said, if you're looking for who builds them best, take a good look at who backs them best.
From Pella Windows and Doors, the Sunrise Bow Window.
Pella.
The Magical Window Nook.
Pella.
The Bubble Bath Skylight.
Pella.
The Sunday Paper Sunroom.
Pella.
Pella makes your home a better place to live, and we'll show you how. Come and get your free idea book, only at your Pella window store. We're listed in your telephone directory.
We have a report tonight on a medical treatment which has always been very controversial. It is called electro-shock therapy. And despite its image, it is being used more and more frequently these days to treat severe depression. Here is our medical editor, Dr. Tim Johnson.
For the past 7 years, Margaret McNicholas's life has been unbearable.
I don't feel that good.
She has been severely depressed. At first, medications helped, but slowly she slipped deeper into her depression.
Oh, I didn't want to get out of bed. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep.
Doctors finally decided that 3 mornings each week for about a month, Margaret would go to New York's Gracie Square Hospital for shock therapy, officially called electroconvulsive therapy, or ECT.
Miss Davis, I want her held loosely. Just guide her arms and legs.
Yes, doctor.
Don't be afraid, Mrs. Cunningham.
This kind of ominous image has remained, and even today, most Americans think of shock therapy in negative terms. However, the majority opinion among psychiatric experts is that ECT is often the safest, most effective, and most economical treatment for patients with severe depression. Today, patients like Margaret McNicholas are first placed under light general anesthesia to minimize pain and anxiety. They are then given a muscle relaxant. And finally, the psychiatrist administers a short burst of high-voltage electricity to the person's brain. This causes a carefully controlled seizure, which is what psychiatrists believe actually treats the depression. A few minutes later, the patient wakes up in the recovery room. What is unique about Margaret's treatment is that unlike most Americans who receive ECT, Margaret will not stay overnight in the hospital. 1 hour after her treatment, she will go home to recover.
You come home to your house and you have your breakfast, and sometimes you just go ahead and do some work.
Margaret's sister sees improvement from the ECT treatments.
It takes her out of her deep depression, and she feels better after them.
Of the 4,000 patients who received ECT at Gracie Square Hospital last year, half received the treatment in this new manner as outpatients.
It's much less frightening for patients. They're much more comfortable in their familiar surroundings going home after the treatment. Many of the patients can work on the same day they've had a treatment.
In addition, the typical 10 to 12 treatments done as outpatients offer substantial financial savings.
A whole treatment course as an outpatient would cost approximately $3,000. As an inpatient, the same course would cost roughly $10,000.
There is also growing evidence of ECT's effectiveness. Recently, doctors at Cornell's New York Hospital compared the two major treatment methods for severe depression: antidepressant medication or ECT.
The response rate in the ECT group runs well over 90%, and they are the more severely ill patients. The response rate in the group that received medication runs around about 50%, and they are not as severely depressed.
However, in this country, there is still a small but organized opposition to ECT.
All electric shock does, and all it's ever intended to do, is create brain damage.
Physical brain damage has never been proven to result from ECT. However, almost all patients experience short-term memory loss.
I don't remember.
And a few suffer long-term memory loss. Because ECT is far safer than it was, more patients are choosing to take the risks of memory loss rather than live with severe depression. Given both the medical and cost advantages of outpatient ECT, many experts expect its use to grow. But whether that actually happens will probably be more a matter of social policy than medical evidence. Dr. Timothy Johnson, ABC News, Boston.
When we come back, politics in Iowa. You have to pay attention.
Bob Akins here for Super Poli-Grip. If you know the pain of food getting stuck between your dentures and gums, ouch! Remember, Super Poli-Grip holds so tight, it helps keep food out, dentures in. Super Poli-Grip.
Is your antacid strong enough?
No, and it's even a leading Plus brand.
Try double-strength Mylanta-II with ounce for ounce nearly double the acid-neutralizing power of any leading Plus brand.
Now that's strength.
Mylanta-II.
Inspection! Are we clean?
Yes, sir.
How do we stay looking clean?
With automatic Vanish, sir.
Why automatic Vanish?
Sir, with automatic Vanish, every flush brings us more of that tough Vanish cleaning and deodorizing formula. No other brand can give you that.
Sound off!
Automatic!
Sound off!
Vanish! No other brand gives you that tough Vanish formula.
In private, there are other Vanish products you should know about. When you want to brush, use liquid or crystal Vanish. Their powerful formula cleans so well, you'll stand up to any inspection.
Yes, sir.
Next time, get a Haworth furniture system. They're built. Next time, get a Haworth furniture system. They're built. Next time, get a Haworth furniture system. They're built.
How much can you save on 18 new Buick models? It's your option. You can save up to $1,200 depending on the amount of optional equipment you buy on a wide variety of new Buicks. You'll also get something that isn't optional. Buick's new 6-year, 60,000-mile warranty. It's truly a better time to buy. So see your participating Buick dealer for details now. The amount you save is optional. The 660 warranty is standard. At Buick, where better really matters.
In national politics today, George Bush Jr. was in Des Moines, Iowa to open his father's state campaign office. As far as the politicians are concerned, it is never too early in Iowa. The Iowa caucuses, a big step on the road to the presidency, are now just about a year away. And the vice president is going to have a lot of company and a fair amount of challenge. As ABC's Betsy Aaron reports tonight, it is a state which you avoid at your peril.
In the smoky, noisy room, the talk is politics.
One of the things about Bruce Babbitt is he's a non-traditional thinker in that he is more visionary than that.
I bet you would wear a Governor Babbitt sticker, wouldn't you?
Not tonight, I would.
On the streets, the talk is not politics.
Too early. I get burned out on all that stuff.
In Iowa, 1 year before the presidential caucuses, unknowns campaign early and hard because Iowans insist on it, on knowing their candidates. Missouri Democratic Congressman Richard Gephardt.
I'm thrilled to be in Iowa today. I try to get here every day if I possibly can.
Former Delaware Governor, Republican Pierre DuPont.
3 months ago, nobody in Iowa had ever heard of Pete DuPont.
Iowa's a place where knowns can easily win a newspaper poll. According to the latest Des Moines Register results, for the Democrats, it's Gary Hart at 59%, followed by Mario Cuomo with 14%, and on down the list. Over on the Republican side, it's Bob Dole from neighboring Kansas at 33%, George Bush with 28%, and on down the list. The vice president, who by all rights should be first, has some obvious problems. His ties to the Reagan administration and its farm policies, and of course, Iran-gate. Conservative Republican activist and Reagan supporter, Bud Hockenberg.
So what are Iowans, Republican Iowans, saying to themselves about George Bush today?
Is he electable?
And is he?
I think they're serious down.
What can he do at this point to make things a little better for himself, if anything?
Find out who he is and what he stands for and remain there.
On the Democratic side, Gary Hart, who is way out ahead, has organization problems. Barbara Leach, former chairman of the '84 Hart campaign in Iowa, is uncommitted today.
Well, I think it's very difficult for him to win Iowa this time. He's lost some really good people that are signing on with other candidates.
Is Gary Hart used goods?
Well, I think all the other candidates look new.
There are lots of candidates who, despite their campaigning, are still unknown. Former Arizona Governor, Democrat Bruce Babbitt.
My name is not exactly a household word.
Do you know who Bruce Babbitt is?
No, I don't know who Bruce Babbitt is.
Richard Gephardt.
Never heard of him.
Pierre DuPont?
No.
11 years ago, Hamilton Jordan used Iowa to launch Jimmy Carter, the Jimmy Who of Iowa, who became President of the United States.
These people in these early states have a tendency to enjoy knocking off the front runner and surprising people.
With a year to go, Iowans are sending a clear message to both the Democrats and the Republicans. And what they're saying is, don't push us. We're not ready to make a commitment. There's a lot of shopping going on, and the state political pros here are not looking for a quick bargain. They're holding out for a winner. Betsy Aaron, ABC News in Des Moines, Iowa.
When we come back, the Soviet Union and America, the fact and the fiction.
Introducing Medipren when you haven't got time for the pain of arthritis.
Haven't got time for the pain. No, I haven't got time for the pain anymore.
Medipren has ibuprofen, the prescription ingredient recommended by doctors 2-to-1 over aspirin for body pain, including minor arthritis pain. And it's safer to your stomach than aspirin.
Haven't got time for the pain.
When your body hasn't got time for the pain, new Medipren from the makers of Tylenol products.
This is my mom. And if everything I say about the four-wheel drive Isuzu Trooper 2 isn't true, may she be struck by lightning. It can carry a symphony orchestra or every book in the Library of Congress. And the nice part is the Trooper 2 starts at just $10.80. You have my mom's word on it. Mom?
See the affordable four-wheel drive Trooper 2 at your Isuzu dealer today.
Lipton tea you made, decaffeinated just for me.
Lipton, you made decaffeinated delicious, just for me.
Hey, Lipton, you made decaffeinated
just for me.
Great tasting Lipton decaffeinated tea. Real Lipton tea, delicious and decaffeinated, just for you.
Lipton tea you made, decaffeinated,
just for us.
Tonight on a special edition of Nightline, Ted Koppel shows you what the Soviets see on TV, their news, game shows, how they portray us on Nightline tonight.
Well, in a number of American cities last night, there were various demonstrations against the ABC miniseries America, which began last night. Some folks said the first episode wasn't hard enough on the Soviets. Others said the program was a liability to Soviet-American understanding. We will try not to add to the debate except to say that while the Soviet takeover of America is supposed to be fiction, an American invasion of the Soviet Union, well, that's another story. And ABC's John McKenzie begins it in San Francisco.
The memorial sits on the outskirts of San Francisco, a small and simple reminder of a vague and distant past. It was 1918. Russians were busy fighting the Germans in World War I, and they were fighting one another in a civil war. Lenin and his communists, or Bolsheviks as they were called then, had seized power in Western Russia. That summer, to the east, to the remote Russian port of Vladivostok, President Woodrow Wilson sent in 12,000 American troops.
It was portrayed exclusively as an anti-German measure during the time of the war.
And in fact it was?
An anti-Bolshevik measure to overthrow the Soviet government.
Although the war with Germany ended that fall, American troops remained in Russia for another 2 years. Joined by the British, French, and Japanese, they stayed to guard the Trans-Siberian Railway, the lifeline for those fighting Lenin and his Bolsheviks. The railway was the only supply route for food, medicine, and weapons.
What they were doing is providing millions of dollars worth of equipment and so forth to the anti-Bolshevik forces. Doing it under the table, so to speak. We were making war on another society and skirting Congress and doing it, and keeping it secret from the American people.
The mission's real purpose was even kept secret from those who were there. American soldiers were told simply, keep the railroad open. Terry Page was a 16-year-old private.
And our orders was, anybody approaching the tracks from the sides, shoot them on sight. Anybody coming up the railroad track, halt them once. And if you didn't stop, shoot them.
Just last month, the official Soviet newspaper Pravda renewed accusations that Americans tortured peasants during the occupation. But there is no documented evidence of that, nor is there evidence Americans saw much combat there. Fewer than 100 GIs were killed. The Bolshevik Red Army had not made it to Siberia yet. The Americans who had say they were welcome there.
You could hear that all day long. I mean, the American soldiers were okay. You could hear that. Imagine that.
From the Russians?
Yeah. So they never bothered us.
By 1920, however, the Red Army was moving through Siberia, consolidating a communist Russia. Americans headed home, but memories remained.
It wasn't something done out of humanitarian reasons. It was a calculated invasion.
The occupation was not large or long or bloody. But this week, as Americans watch a fictionalized invasion of America, the Soviets remind us that in reality, we invaded them. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening and good night.
From ABC, this has been World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Tonight.
Its time has passed. There is not going to be a revolution in America.
I gotta see my kids.
You're under arrest.
The television event of the season continues. America.
Oh, here comes excitement. Waterloo Greyhound Park.
It's their birthday, but the savings are for you during Big Sur Waterbed's President's Day celebration. Now through Monday at 9 p.m., you'll find star-spangled savings on our great selection of quality waterbeds, waterbed bedding, accessories, and solid wood bedroom furniture. This is the weekend to buy a waterbed. But honestly, the President's Day celebration ends Monday at 9 p.m. at Big Sur Waterbeds, America's largest. 3715 Merle Hay Road at Douglas in Des Moines.
Take the 3 leading corn insecticides. Counter is one, but it compromises when it comes to cutworms by just suppressing them. Lorsban compromises on consistent rootworm control, according to university root ratings. Only Diphonate controls both rootworms and cutworms. Without compromise. Guaranteed. Diphonate. Control without compromise.